Hey everyone, what's going on? Tonight, the big news story was Donald Trump addressing the nation in regards to building the wall on the Mexican border. And what's really interesting is that I went to CNN after this speech was done, and they got all this stuff about, Donald Trump's speech and whatnot, but just right below it, there was an article that says WWE superstar signs to new wrestling league. And if you've been following my channel, I've documented a lot of things in recent months and years of how the WWE is synced up to the things that are going on in our mainstream media. And when I clicked on the story, the wrestler, his name just so happened to be Chris Jericho. Now think about this. Donald Trump's giving a speech all about the wall, and just below that on CNN, we get an article of this wrestler named Chris Jericho. And if you think about that in biblical terms, think about what Jericho is. The walls of Jericho that, Moses led the people to Canaan, and then they took down the walls of Jericho to get their land back. And if you're new here, you might be thinking, well, that's just a coincidence. But I have thousands of videos showing how the mainstream media does this over and over. It's absolutely no coincidence, such as Matt Harvey being the first pitcher in Houston just after Hurricane Harvey, and then the Astros went on to win the World Series, or just yesterday, we got a story about the girl getting clemency, and then Clemson went on to blow out Alabama in the College National Football Championship. And it doesn't always have to connect to sports, such as Donald Trump. When Donald Trump won the election, he won it on November 9th, which is the anniversary of the announcement that the Berlin Wall was going to be coming down. November 9th, let me find it here. Right here. The East German government announced on November 9th, 1989, that all GDR citizens could visit West Germany and West Berlin. So the announcement that the wall is going to come down, Donald Trump wins the election on that anniversary, and he became the 45th president. And in what is called Gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases that I often talk about how our mainstream media is coded with, if you write out Berlin Wall equals 45. And, Trump became the 45th president. Mike Pence equals 45 in the reverse way and also in the frontwards way. And Mike Pence even became the 48th vice president after they won that election. And look at this, the word wall equals 48. If you write out Donald Trump equals 48. He won the biggest election upset since the year 1948 when Harry S. Truman upset Thomas E. Dewey. Just look at Harry S. Truman. Look at the gematria here, 148. Now type out Donald J. Trump, 148. Harry S. Truman was also the president during the Korean War, and think about Donald Trump and meeting Kim Jong-un and whatnot. But wall equals 48, Donald Trump 48. Mike Pence became the 48th vice president. The Mexican-American War came to an end in 1848. Trump won just after the Cleveland Indians had lost in the World Series. Cleveland 48. They haven't won a World Series since 1948. What are the odds of all that? And also, just after this, we had LeBron James and Donald Trump visiting the White House on the same day. This was just after King James won the NBA Finals on the anniversary of the real King James's birthday. And they brought back that game show called The Wall, right, with LeBron James on it, just after Donald Trump wins the election. Then they come out with a movie called The Great Wall. What are the odds of all this? You tell me they didn't already know that Donald Trump was going to be the president. They're making all this stuff about the wall, and it comes out just after Donald Trump is supposedly elected to be the president. So anyway, let's go back and look at the story here. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. If you don't, you can watch some other videos. I explain a lot more of what the numbers mean and how you can apply them in other videos, but it stems back to, Jewish mysticism, which is called Kabbalah, that has a belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And the people who control our media and control our government and control our movies and whatever else, they understand this knowledge and they're essentially using it to play God over the rest of the people who have no idea that this system is going on. And just look at this here. So Chris Jericho, right? The walls of Jericho. And even before I get into that, just read the Bible. It's all scripted with this code. The New Testament, it begins with the 42 generations leading up to Jesus. If you write out New Testament, it equals 42. Bethlehem equals 42. Nazareth equals 42. So the word math equals 42. It begins in Matthew. But the walls of Jericho, before they get taken down, they walk around the wall 6 times, 1 time a day. And then on the 7th day, they walk around it 7 times, blowing 7 ram's horns. And then the walls come down, right? The walls come down. I mean, it's so specific to numbers. Why would they do that? Well, on the 7th day, walk around it 7 times, blowing 7 ram's horns. And think about it. Trump and Pence, the trumpets, right? The trumpets. But look at Chris Jericho here. Look what his birthday is. November 9th, the day that Donald Trump won the election, on the anniversary of the Berlin Wall being announced that's going to come down. And he's aged 48. The word wall equals 48, Donald Trump 48, and so on, right? What are the odds that this story is right below all of these other stories about Donald Trump's national address about building the wall? The story right below it is the wrestler Chris Jericho. That's all about the wall. So possibly, I guess I need to go and watch Donald Trump's speech, to maybe pick up on some clues. But possibly they're just saying, the wall's coming down. So maybe it means they're not going to get a wall, Donald Trump isn't going to get a wall. If you go from his birthday or the anniversary of the wall and Donald Trump winning the election to today, it's a span of 60 days, which is interesting. Because if you come back here and you look at the word wall, wall also equals 60. 60 and 48. Donald Trump equals that too. 48 and also 60. So now we're getting this story 60 days after the anniversary, right? And Chris Jericho's even 48 years old. Notice Donald Trump also equals 138. And that sticks out because this whole thing that he signed to was the All Elite Wrestling League. And he's going to be wrestling at this thing called Double or Nothing on May 25th. And if you go from the day that he signed to the day he's going to be wrestling, it's 138 days. And remember, Donald Trump also equals 138. You see how all 4 of them numbers, or at least 3 of them 4, are significant to what I'm talking about. Another quick thing that really sticks out to me too is that today is also Kim Jong-un's birthday. And today is written 1-8 in America, but pretty much everywhere else in the world, it would be written as 8/1, a lot like 81. And, there's a big narrative with Donald Trump and Pope Francis. Donald Trump, wants to build the wall, and Pope Francis says that Christians don't build walls, they build bridges. And I've talked a lot about this number in regards to Pope Francis and much, much more. The Minneapolis bridge collapse that happened in 2007, it happened on August 1st, and it fell 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 meters long, and it took them 81 minutes to transport everyone to the hospital. And last year, the Super Bowl with the Eagles that was won in Minnesota was all synced up to this. And the standing during the national anthem on August 1st is Francis Scott Key's birthday. Pope Francis was 81 years old last year. He's supposedly the first Jesuit pope. And he turned 81 years old 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary. And the word pope in Hebrew lettering equals 81. And pontiff means bridge builder. A lot going on with it. But this is Kim Jong-un's birthday, and Kim Jong-un, his father just so happened to die on Pope Francis's birthday. So there's definitely a bigger narrative going on with all this. You know, Kim Jong-un's birthday, January 8th. There's definitely, you know, it's definitely synced up to Kim Jong-un. You know, he was just in the media as well in regards to Donald Trump and a second meeting and whatnot. So what I'm gonna end this video with is, so I didn't really talk about it in the beginning, but I talked about how Kabbalah is the belief that God created the world by merging the letter with the number. And what these people are doing is essentially playing God over us by, you know, coding these mainstream media stories and putting them out on certain times and doing these certain things and putting all of this negativity in the world, you know, keeping people arguing. There's other ancient knowledge things such as Hermeticism that believes that everything has a vibration and, you know, even letters and numbers and signs and symbols. And with this knowledge, they can, you know, manipulate the minds of the mass. And they're using it, obviously, to rule over us. But we also still live in this coded world. And if you just pay enough attention in your own life, you will see that these things go on in your own life as well, regardless of, you know, the scripting that is going on within the mainstream media. In the mainstream media, they pick and choose stories and they manipulate certain things about them. Such, I just talked about that Jasmine Barnes story, where they didn't really know that it happened at 7 in the morning, but that's the way they documented it. You know, about 7 a.m. and she was a 7-year-old, and they found the first suspect 7 days later, and then they found the second suspect on the 7th day of the year, and she was found in or shot in Houston. That equals 77, and it was her birthday 7 months and 7 days after the guy who helped find the killers and whatnot. But the reason I find it so interesting is because just last night I documented about how when my band played a gig back on the night before Thanksgiving, uh, one of the regular guys that goes to this bar, and it's the first time I've ever been to this bar, he is actually a professional boxer. And we played there again on New Year's Eve, and I saw this guy, but I didn't believe him that he was really a professional boxer. And I Snapchatted my friend. This guy lost to James Buster Douglas, you know, the guy who beat Mike Tyson. And my friend knew who he was or whatever, or he didn't know who he was, but, you know, I just documented about my friend in this post and in regards to boxing and UFC and whatnot. And now today we're getting this story about Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho just so happens to be his like favorite wrestler. Even like on his Twitter, he's had this picture forever on his Twitter, Jericho Holic. And just the other day on January 4th, Chris Jericho even retweeted one of his tweets about Chris Jericho. So, you know, it just stood out to me. I don't know what the full meaning is, but I just want to document it because I always talk about these synchronicity things that go on within my own life. And, you know, something to check out in regards to what I'm talking about, all of this, go to like Netflix or Hulu, I believe it's on too, and just check out the TV show called Touch. It has Kiefer Sutherland in it, and it is about this kid who can basically see the coding that is going on within the world and how everything in the world is interrelated, and he's trying to, you know, use this code. He can see it, and he's trying to make people touch at certain times in order to make the world a better place. You know, he's manipulating the code that he sees in order to make the world better, and which is the complete opposite of what the people who control our media are doing. Another show that's, you know, very similar to it, that's newer, is called God Friended Me. Check out this show too. God Friended Me. It's got a very similar aspect to it. You know, this guy or this guy gets on Facebook and he gets a friend request from God, and then all these other friend requests, every time he gets them, they sync up to things that are going on in his life, and he basically has to follow the Fibonacci spiral in order to find the meaning of all of it. And I haven't watched them all, but it's definitely a show to check out in regards to what I am talking about. But the reason I bring all this up is because I just remember a long time ago going to a concert in Kansas City with my friend, and one of the bands there was called the Walls of Jericho. It was some type of metal band, and they had a redheaded girl who was lead singing or screaming or whatever you want to call it. And recently we've been talking a lot about this date of August 11th because it's Tisha B'Av, which is the festival or whatever, the Jewish holy day in regards to the celebration of the destruction of the two temples. Or maybe not the celebration, but it's the holy day that's connected to the destruction of the two temples. And in Jewish Gematria, if you write it out, well, let me pull up the calculator here. We'll pull up Jewish, and we'll pull up Satanic. If you write out Tisha B'Av, it just so happens to equal 911. And think about that in regards to 9/11 and the destruction of the two towers and whatnot. Also, think about that in regards to, the day that Donald Trump won the election and whatnot, and Chris Jericho's birthday, 11/9, or in other parts of the world, 9/11. 911 was made the emergency dialing code in the year 68, which was the same year that the World Trade Center construction began. On August 6th, which can be written as 8/6 or 6/8. George Bush's birthday, 68 days before 9/11. That's the year that he graduated from Yale Skull and Bones. That was 33 years before 9/11. If you write out 33, it equals 156, which is the 156th prime number is 911. But, moving on, Tisha B'Av this year just so happens to begin on the night of August 10th into, August 11th. And it's this day we've been talking about in regards to the red heifer and the Jewish prophecy of the third temple being built. And Donald Trump, when he became the president, he even went and visited the Western Wall and a bunch of other things. But this August 11th date, a while back I was talking about August 10th a whole lot, all summer, and it was connected to the Cleveland Indians, which is important because they were cursed by Rocky Colavito, that equals 624, and he got traded to the Detroit Tigers, that equals 624, and then last summer, the Tigers and the Indians played each other on 624, and a bunch of other things. But Rocky Colavito's birthday is August 10th. And the reason that's so interesting is because my best friend, who I'm talking about having this synchronicity with, he is a humongous Cleveland Indians fan. So when I saw that Chris Jericho's real name, Christopher Irvine, or Irvin, equals 811 in Satanic Gematria, it just makes me think about August 10th and August 11th. And, Satanic Gematria is really important as well. If you write out Satanic Gematria in Satanic Gematria, it equals 666. So, what are the odds of that? And what's interesting is that I'm now 36. My best friend's just turned 36 years old. And the cipher is based on, the 36 triangular number, which is if you add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way up to 36, it equals 666. And it starts with, A starts with 36, and then B is 37, and so on. So it's interesting that we're both 36 years old, and that cipher would seemingly be important. Also in that same cipher, if you write out AEW, which is the league that he joined, it equals 134, just like his full name, Christopher Keith Irvin, and also Make America Great again equals 134. So, And I guess I'm sorry, I'm getting lost here, but the reason that I brought all that up was because that band in Kansas City that I saw with him a long time ago, called the Walls of Jericho, they played with Stone Sour as well, which is Slipknot's lead singer, is the lead singer of that band. And Slipknot has that song called Gematria, Gematria, the killing name. And we talk about how people get murdered by this code all the time. Even Slipknot's bass player died by the numbers. His name equaled 38. He died age 38. Gematria equals 38. He died after that album came out. His nickname was the Pig, that equals 38. He died in Johnston, Iowa, that equals 163, which is the 38th prime number. So the reason that's important is because this band also, their album called Redemption was produced by the lead singer of Slipknot and Corey Taylor. So that's why I brought all of this up, because I have a video about Bohemian Rhapsody, who just did awesome at the Golden Globes too, back in November, or maybe October, and I talked about how it was significant that the band Slipknot is going to be playing the Iowa State Fair for the first time ever, and they're from Iowa, on August 10th next year. And when Donald Trump first ran for president, he was in a helicopter, and he said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. And of course, that same weekend, we got a story of Batgirl dying and some guy who dressed up like Batman and went around to hospitals. He died. We got Morgan Freeman's granddaughter dying, and all the news stories showed us a picture of him and her at the Batman premiere. The Batman shooter, he got sentenced or something like that in that month, right? So they were doing a humongous Batman theme in the media. Also, recently, I'll leave some links in the description, but recently I've mentioned this Moses narrative, and that's why it was important that Clemson and Alabama played in Levi's Stadium, because Moses was in the tribe of Levi, and he brought in the age of Aries, which is the ram. And like I said, I'll leave some links in the description, but it's just important when you're thinking about the walls of Jericho. And then Moses he freed the slaves in the Exodus, right? And then they went to the outside of Canaan that they were going to take back. And he put Joshua in charge, and that's when they knocked down the walls of Jericho, which is the city that was first taken back. But in Gematria, Moses equals 71, just like the Ten Commandments. And then this game was played on 1-7 or 7/1. But also Canaan equals 34, and Sinai equals 34, and Joshua equals 34, and you know, a ton of other things. Red Sea, I believe, equals 34. And it's all important to the flag and kneeling during the national anthem. The word flag equals 34. And think about Moses and Levi's Stadium being in San Francisco, where Colin Kaepernick originally played. So check out some links in the description. Also interesting, if you write out Walls of Jericho, it equals 156, which is, 9/11 is the 156th prime number. So we'll leave it there. Just wanted to show this obvious coding to the wall symbolism, and then show some of these synchronicity things that are going on with the story. Actually, you know what? Let's just look at this other story really quick while I'm killing time here. So I looked up James Buster Douglas because of that story, and or just last night I randomly scrolled down on ESPN is what happened, and they showed this story right here, 42-1, because apparently they just recently made a 30-30 on ESPN that was about James Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson, or beating Mike Tyson. But they called it 42-1, and in Gematria, the super N-word equals 42. That's why Rosa Parks was 42 years old when she got on the bus. The word bus equals 42. That's why we're told that, Rodney King's birthday is 4/2. That's why Jackie Robinson wore the number 42. Much, much more that goes along with it. But, what are the odds? 42-1. And this fight took place on the 42nd day of the year, and it was at the Tokyo Dome that equals 42. So James Buster Douglas equals 59, just like Mike Tyson. The word Negro equals 59, slave equals 59, cotton picker, jigaboo. The Civil War supposedly came to an end on 5/9 in history, May 9th. It began 59 days after Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Abe Lincoln equals 42. So many, many other examples of that as well. I'll leave another link in the description, but just thought it was interesting. 42-1. That's because of the odds on the 42nd day at the Tokyo Dome that equals 42. But we'll just leave it at that. Have a good one. You get the gist of what I'm talking about. Peace.